Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're embarking on a pretty fascinating journey that's deeply grounded in the foundational chapters of the Bitter Text. We are going to explore the grand, sweeping history of couples and family counseling, but we aren't just going to look backward at some dry, dusty timeline. Instead, we're going to use this rich history to help you discover your very own personal and professional identity as an emerging relational practitioner. So let's just dive right in. We are going to frame our whole time together today around one central, honestly, deeply personal question. Where will you fit in the ongoing and unfolding history of family therapy? Because to answer that, we need to find your unique coordinate on two entirely different maps: the macro map of the profession's historical lineage and the micro map of your own family origins. Let's start with the big picture, the macro map. As outlined in Chapter 2 of your text, we can actually trace the history of this field through 4 distinct professional geneograms. It's literally the family tree of family therapy. It kicks off with our systemic pioneers, folks like Alfred Adler, who actually did family counseling out in open community settings on Saturday mornings, and of course, Murray Bowen. From there, we watch the offspring of those ideas shift into structural and strategic models with Mnuchin and Haley, right into the postmodern era where Michael White and Monica McGoldrick really championed narratives and feminism. And finally, we arrive at the evidence-based practices of today, led by the Gottmans and Susan Johnson. You see, this isn't just a list of random names. It's a living lineage of ideas that you're about to inherit. Now, to navigate all of this history, we use the genogram. And look, a genogram isn't just a basic clinical assessment tool. It's a profoundly powerful map for storytelling. We've got squares representing males, circles for females, and very specific lines that map out the incredible complexities of relationships. A solid horizontal line means a marriage, double hash marks show a divorce, and shading can even flag substance abuse or mental health struggles. It's a visual language that drags human connection and human fractures right out into the open. And as we map out all these intricate connections, there's this beautifully empowering concept that pops up from systems theory called equifinality. Sounds fancy, right? But it basically dictates that living systems can achieve a desired end in a whole bunch of different ways. Families are open systems. They aren't machines where pushing button A always magically results in outcome B. They absolutely are not locked into singular deterministic outcomes dictated by their past structure. For you as a future clinician, that's huge. It means there are countless valid paths to healing and health for the families you're going to serve. But keep in mind, drawing a few squares and circles to create a structural map of who is related to who, that is just the absolute starting line. These maps do so much more than show basic biology or legal structures. When you really dig into them, they reveal deeply ingrained emotional ties, intense reactions, and multi-generational behavior patterns that literally echo through the decades. Actually, just the process of drawing your own genogram is notorious for bringing old, buried emotions right back up to the surface. Let's pivot for a second to Jim Bitter, the author of our source text, just to see how this plays out in real life. In Chapter 3, Bitter openly interrogates his own map. He asks how his adoption at 6 months old and his traditional upbringing coming of age in the 1960s shaped his entire worldview. He literally asks, "Do you think the limited experience and traditional values that were part of my upbringing had an effect on how I view race, diverse cultures, and gender issues?" It's brilliant because he's modeling exactly what every effective clinician has to do: ruthlessly examine how your own history filters the way you see your clients. Notice how Bitter's personal map just seamlessly merges with his professional one? His clinical identity was heavily shaped by some absolute giants in the field. He was mentored by Manfred Sonstegard, trained extensively for a full decade with the legendary Virginia Satir, and totally embraced Adlerian principles that emphasized community feeling. His professional identity didn't just appear out of thin air, It was this rich synthesis of his personal background and the specific professional branch he grafted himself onto. So, here's the absolute crucial point. In couples and family practice, you simply cannot separate the person from the professional. You, the practitioner, are the primary instrument of therapeutic change. Who you are, your unfinished business, your assumptions, they all walk right into that counseling room with you. Choosing to become a professional family practitioner means actively choosing to work on and develop yourself as a human being. It's totally a dual journey. Which brings us right to Murray Bowen's famous concept. It essentially represents the ultimate goal of personal development for anyone in this field: maintaining a differentiated self. That is, the ability to stay completely calm, focused, and objective while you're observing intense, swirling family dynamics. And hey, as anyone with a family knows, that is way easier said than done. It's all about being in the room, deeply caring for the family, but absolutely not getting sucked into their emotional reactivity or taking sides with the most powerful person in the room. But how do we actually pull that off in the heat of a chaotic session? Well, we can use Virginia Satir's centering process. She taught practitioners to literally center themselves through deep breathing until their heart rates actually slowed down. Then she asked them to intentionally release any projections, to open their eyes and take a mental picture of the family right in front of them, placing it on a blank screen in their mind. It's a conscious effort to set aside first impressions or any third-party gossip. And that centering brilliantly sets the stage for achieving true presence. The sources are super clear on this. Presence, which means focusing on clients with genuine interest, curiosity, and fascination, is the single most important quality a practitioner can possibly have. It's the absolute foundation of therapeutic contact, and honestly, it completely overrides any specific therapeutic technique or intervention you might be trying to deploy. Before you try a technique, you must first be truly present. And here's exactly why that centering process is so vital. Satir made this incredibly insightful point. She noted that if she walked into a room with 12 people, she would essentially meet everyone she ever knew. Meaning, meeting a new family instantly triggers memories of our own family members. It requires us to consciously, deliberately separate our past emotional baggage from our client's present reality. Because otherwise, you have to ask yourself, who is the family practitioner really responding to here? The actual client sitting across from them? Or some ghost from their own past? So this brings us right to your own practical task. When we look at the power of genogram work in tracing these multi-generational patterns, it's pretty staggering. Just like Bowen and McGoldrick use these family diagrams, mapping out at least 3 generations helps us see the full evolutionary picture of our nuclear family. It highlights all the cutoffs, the closeness, and the unique cultural contexts that make up exactly who we are. All right, here is your assignment for this block. Using a format of your own choosing could be a PowerPoint presentation, a personal geneogram, a written document, maybe even a video. I want you to creatively present details of your personal history. Explain exactly how you came into this field, and importantly, chart your place relative to the ongoing history of couples and family counseling. And to really nail this, make sure to reference Jim Bitter's example of his own personal history from Chapter 3, along with the history of the field outlined in Chapters 1 and 2, making sure to include those 4 professional geneograms we just talked about. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you to reflect on your emerging identity as a clinician. As you create this project and chart your own coordinate on this vast professional map, where exactly do your personal roots end and your professional identity begin? I challenge you to uncover that powerful link between where you come from and where you're going. Thanks so much for joining me, and I absolutely can't wait to see how you map your future in family therapy.